is to structure society. I mean, you can symbolize it as a spider's web, or like this as a pyramid. The idea is to hoard advanced knowledge, the kind of stuff we've been hearing about today and more, in the upper levels of this structure, this pyramid within pyramid structure, compartmentalized pyramid, where the few at the top are the only ones that know how it all fits together. And they keep the general population in ignorance of what they know, therefore they have the power, so they can manipulate the perception of the masses by keeping them in ignorance. This is why the education system is not about educating, it's about programming. And they place their people in so-called power. What we are told is at the top of the pyramid of power, presidents, prime ministers, and all these people, in the upper echelons of the pyramid, but nowhere near the top. The real people in power are behind them, in the shadows, and these are the conduits, the presidents, the prime ministers, and all the rest of it, for bringing that agenda into the public arena as changes in laws and legislations and the structure of society. So they compartmentalize all these different pyramids within pyramids, so that in the end, the banking system is encompassed by a pyramid. I mean, a bank's a pyramid in itself, all hierarchical pyramids, but then the banking system is encompassed by a pyramid, and at the top of that are the same families, most notably the Rothschilds. Same with the businesses. The transnational corporations are compartmentalized pyramids in and of themselves, but they go into a bigger pyramid which encompasses all the transnational corporations. So at that point, they are one corporation, just as at that point, all those banks are one bank. Same with politics, education, all these things. And people in this part of the pyramid here, they go to work, they're not trying to manipulate anybody, they're not trying to create a fascist Orwellian agenda and global state. They just want to go about their careers, earn money, go on holiday, provide for their families. But they don't know how their apparently innocent contribution individually connects with other apparently innocent contributions around the system. When you connect them together, you see it's anything but an innocent direction that it's taking the world. And that's how they keep what's going on in the hands of the few. This is Neil Haig's representation of that. This is the general population, and these are the kind of dark suit administrators of the system until you get up here to where the control system is. And most even here won't know that exists. Oh, I've just got this order from on high, I don't know where it's come from. Well, maybe we ought to bloody ask, instead of just doing it. And again, it can also be symbolized as the web, where these various strands, they're secret societies, semi-secret organizations, which go out and connect all these apparently unconnected countries, institutions, media organizations, banks, etc. And this Illuminati network, symbolized as the bearded man, spews out all these people who apparently appear to be random. To run for president needs cuckoo-land amounts of money. Where do they come from? It comes from here. Where does that money come from? And therefore, you have two people put up for president who are there because of the money provided by this network. Therefore, they've chosen not only who it's going to be, but they've sorted out what the policies are going to be in return for that money. And this is what they do. We think we're choosing our leaders. We're not. It's a myth. And so this structure that I showed you earlier comes into this, where these leaders are put into power to carry out the agenda of the control system, which is why when parties change, whatever they've said in opposition goes out the window and they start acting like the party in government previously that they were criticizing. The common denominator is whoever gets in power basically introduces the control system, and whoever's out of power opposes the control system verbally, which means that you have the illusion of choice when whoever's in power unfolds the agenda. So there is no choice. It's a myth. And they control these institutions and play the people off against each other, divide and rule, both within countries and between countries, keeping everything in a constant state of confusion and conflict. And that's the key. Manipulating confusion and conflict is child's play. Manipulating harmony, manipulating respect between each other is a nightmare. So they have to keep the world in constant states of conflict. Now, when you bring it down to an individual country, as we come down this structure, this is what you find in every country. You had in America, it's a wonderful example, but it plays out all over the world. When I say jump, I mean Olympic high jump record. This is the thing. You take one mask off, you put another mask on. And because it's a different mask, we think it's a different administration, we think controlled by different forces. No, no. And what you have is the movie playing out in the public arena, people who appear to be in opposition to each other when they're controlled by the same puppeteer. And once you look beyond the movie, that's when you start to see what's really happening in the world. The cards are moved around in line with an agenda for the constant, incessant centralization of power. And it's done with people who, I keep coming back to, have a DNA with empathy deleted, which means anything goes in pursuit of this agenda. And the people are misdirected, diverted by the way society is manipulated and controlled, increasingly so with more and more laws affecting the fine detail of our lives, so that we spend so much time surviving and rushing around, we don't get our head up and see what's going on. So puppet people are essential to the few controlling the world. When we cease to be so, and it's happening more and more, then this will be over. Humans have been put into this round and round and round circular lifestyle with 1 week leads into another week and another week, just a repeating cycle of action and work and sleep and eat and work and sleep and eat for so many people. And this is the structure that they're moving towards. Why? Because when you're the few and you want to control the many, you have to centralize decision making. The more diversity of decision making there is, the less control any central point is going to have over it. So what you need to do is constantly centralize power, so control over more and more and more people goes into fewer and fewer hands. We started with a tribal situation a long time ago. The people in the tribe decided what was going to happen. We then brought, as part of this centralization, it's gone over at this whole period I'm talking about, the tribes came together into what we call nations. And now, a few people at the center of the nation are dictating to all the former tribes that make up that nation. We're now well into the next stage of that, which is bringing nations together under unions like the European Union, so a few people at the center are now dictating to all those nations, which are made up of all those tribes before. And the next stage of that, which they're already preparing for, is to take us into a world government that would dictate to these unions that are building up, like the European Union, the American Union that they want via the North American Union, the Pacific Union, evolved out of organizations like APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, and the African Union, already in place, evolved out of the Organization of African Unity and other bodies. And what they done in many of these unions is start them off as free trade zones, just for jobs, that's all it is, no worries. And then they've turned them into fully fledged dictatorships, which is what happened in the European Union. And the reason is that you've got to centralize power if you want to get more and more control in the hands of the few over more and more people. He's led by Timothy Geithner, Treasury Secretary, Rothschild Zionist, and Larry Summers, Rothschild Zionist. The entire Obama budget is run by the budget director, Peter Orszag, Rothschild Zionist. This man was advising the Russian treasury when the Russian governments were giving state assets away to Rothschild Zionist oligarchs, including Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea Football Club, by the way. It's very easy to become a billionaire when a state says, have these assets worth billions of pounds. Thank you very much. It's a piece of cake. You could buy a football club if you want. And this man's company was also advising the Icelandic Central Bank in the run-up to the Icelandic crash. The Federal Reserve in America, which controls the American economy in so many ways, it's a privately owned, not government-owned central bank, and it's privately owned by the Rothschilds, and the affiliates of the Rothschilds is Bernard Bernanke, Rothschild Zionist. He replaced Alan Greenspan, Rothschild Zionist, who was head of the Federal Reserve from Reagan Bush right up into the Boy Bush administration, and he systematically took away the checks and balances which allowed the mayhem of 2008 to unfold. We keep hearing about Goldman Sachs and all the mayhem that it's created, both in the crash of 2008 and the crash of the economy in Greece, fundamentally involved Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is a fiefdom of the Rothschilds, headed by Lord Blankfein, Rothschild Zionist. The World Bank, headed by a Rothschild Zionist. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, headed by a Rothschild Zionist. European Central Bank, headed by a Rothschild Zionist. A stream of so-called czars, as they call them in America, controlling different policies and policy areas of the Obama administration, Rothschild Zionists, including Cass Sunstein, who has actually written a paper saying people who have conspiracy theories should either be banned from expressing them or taxed for expressing them. Taxed! Climate change policy in the Obama administration is controlled by Carol Brown, a Rothschild Zionist, and Todd Steen, Rothschild Zionist. Major area of policy. The American administration is utterly awash with Rothschild Zionists, and that is not by accident. It's because they're agents of the dynasty or agents of the control system. It's not about race. Mossad is not the intelligence agency of Israel. It's the intelligence agency of the Rothschilds, and that's why it turns up all over the world in false flag set up terrorist events and assassinations and all that stuff, because it's not carrying out the policy of Israel, it's carrying out the policy of the Rothschilds that control Israel. Now let's look at 9/11. The World Trade Center lease was purchased just a few weeks before 9/11 by Larry Silverstein, Rothschild Zionist, and Frank Lowy, Rothschild Zionist, and the deal was done with this guy called Eisenberg, Louis Eisenberg, Rothschild Zionist, the head of the New York Port Authority. The head of the CIA, who investigated what happened on 9/11, George Tenet, Rothschild Zionist. The Patriot Act, which was brought out, the Orwellian Take Your Freedoms Away Patriot Act in America, was co-authored, justified by 9/11, though it was written before because they knew it was coming, by Michael Chertoff, whose mother was a Mossad agent and who became the second head later of Homeland Security, an organization Orwellian that was justified by 9/11. At the time of 9/11, in the run-up to it, and then the war on terror and all that stuff, the Pentagon was dominated by Paul Wolfowitz, Rothschild Zionist, Dov Zakheim, the comptroller, who managed to lose trillions of dollars and still got away with it. And by the way, when one announcement was made of how much he'd lost or had gone missing in the Pentagon, they announced it on September the 10th, 2001. I wonder if they realized that because of that, it would never see the light of day. Dov Zakheim, Rothschild Zionist, and people like Douglas Feith or Feith, Rothschild Zionist in the Pentagon. Now, as I've said earlier, the Bush administration was dominated and controlled by what became known as the neocons, the neoconservatives, which were a Rothschild Zionist organization, led by people like Richard Pearl, Rothschild Zionist, William Crystal, Rothschild Zionist, John Bolton, Rothschild Zionist, in belief in nothing, if nothing else. And then the 9/11 Commission report, which was the official report investigating 9/11. They wanted Kissinger to head it first until the public didn't take that seriously and he had to step down. But that report, which agreed that the official story of 9/11 was true, was written and overseen by Philip Zelikow, Rothschild Zionist. Rothschild Zionist. So when you look at this, because Israel is the fiefdom of the Rothschilds, you see that this dynamics, or you'd think, is the man of 300 million people, the superpower, is the most powerful of the two. No. He is controlled from there. Because the Rothschilds control them. Do you know Israel has the second biggest F-16 fleet in the world? The biggest outside of America? It's a slither of land. How did they get them? Dov Zakheim, as comptroller of the Pentagon, Rothschild Zionist, made a load of weaponry and planes in America scrap when they weren't, so they could be passed for a song to Israel.